Oh my goodness, Atiku the unifier. There's something about sincerity of purpose. When your inside doesn't match your outside, sooner or later you will goof. You can't pretend for long. That's one of the things I found out in life. And for me, I'm always like, no matter how painful it is, no matter how whatever, just let the inside match the outside. That's it. In that way, you don't have to be always be or checking your always be on edge or always having to mind what you say, because it comes naturally, because that's what is deeply right inside you. And I think this speech by Atiku, where you could see really he talking about what he really means. I don't understand how PDP supporters and everything are trying to change the words and trying to do. But anyway, before we get there, just take a listen.
What the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the north and who also understands the other parts of Nigeria and who has been able to build bridges across the rest of the country. This is what the northerner needs. He doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate. This is what the northerner needs. So I believe I stand before you as a pan-Nigerian of northern origin.
What do you think about that? A lot of people are trying to tell us that what we heard and what we are looking at and hearing, that it's not it, bringing all sorts of, newspapers, of course, some of them have done the headlines right and everything. But it is what it is. And so it's not about there are certain moments when your guard is down and then you just let the things flow that are really in you. And somehow that was how this flowed. But let me quickly look at what some of the things he said. Like he said, he said a pan-Nigerian of northern origin. But before then, what he said was that what the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the north and who also understands the other part of Nigeria and who has been able to build bridges across the rest of the country. So that in itself simply says, as said it. There are different ways. Ordinarily, if you had, even there was no, this one there's no how, because it's specific. He's saying that let me look at it again. What the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the north. That's what he said. He could have simply said what the average northerner needs is somebody who can provide good governance, accountability, transparency, or is a leader, is a national leader, or is an upright leader, or any of those things without really using the north. You understand? So because you're already in the north, I don't even know, why was that even an issue or something? So you shouldn't even have been using, whether somebody in the north, somebody, just say, what the average northerner needs is someone who will be able to uplift his economy. Since, by the way, he's always talking about the fact that he's strong with economy and something like that, and say, somebody who also, even somebody who can ensure security, so that he can go to his farm. Because of course we know that in the northern part of the country they do a lot of farming. People do farming. Even people, you see them in offices and whatever, they have farms. They are very much into farming. You understand? I think the food basket of Nigeria is in the northern part of the country. And in fact, the north can feed Africa. That has always been my duty. There's so much land, arable land, that can be used, fertile, that can be used all year round. And the northerners are so innovative when it comes to, doing irrigation, farming, or everything that has to do with all those innovation, and they're very, very, very good at that. I've always said that. So all you could have simply said would be something like, what the average northerner needs is someone who can provide security and ensure they're able to do, who can uplift the economy, all sorts of, and then you can now add, and who also understands other part of Nigeria. So by the time you even say that, you're not even saying, you've not brought in the ethnic and regional, context into it and all of that. And then you go on to say that who also understand other part of Nigeria, or you even say if you had even say other part of Nigeria, still, some would have said, what does it mean? You go and say, You might even look at it and say, okay, it means the whole of Nigeria kind of a thing. You can do that and say, and who has been able to build bridges across the rest of the country. But he was very specific in saying what the average northerner wants. It's somebody who is from the north, who also understand other parts of Nigeria. So it's not just someone who is from the north and doesn't relate, but someone who understands other part of Nigeria. And then he goes on to so he says what the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the north and who also understands the other part of Nigeria and who has been able to build bridges across the rest of the country. He then continued with, this is what the northerner needs. He was emphatic about that. He was very emphatic about this is what the northerner. He said he doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate. You see, this particular place was also the moment that if he, when they say this thing about, when spirit of error is following you, you don't even know when you are making this error. At this moment, this was a place, if he was someone who was thinking or watching the body language, and I see a lot of people don't do that. Let me just say this: when you're speaking, you're not just talking, you're also looking at the people you're talking to and saying what is it you're saying. Because sometimes in the moment of talking, there are certain times you say something like, oh, okay, oh my gosh, okay, maybe the way I said it, I didn't say it right or something like that, and then you correct it or something. But I see a lot of people neglect that body language in a room. It's very important. You have to be checking and see what is it indeed that they are saying, and how. So what is it you are saying? How are they receiving it? At that moment, you could see people were nervous. They looked uncomfortable. He should have known that something was up, but then, hey. He then continued with, this is what the northerner needs, right? And he said he doesn't need, that means he, meaning the Yoruba, the northerner, he doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate. If he had added a Hausa candidate, do you understand? That would have sort of like we say, okay, maybe that one was just some kind of slip of job, but he corrected himself now. If he had even said, because when you are mentioning tribes, right? For example, you have to include your tribe to be able to say, if I'm talking to my people and I'm saying, oh, you don't need a northerner, you don't need a southerner, if you don't need Hausa, you don't need Igbo, you don't need Yoruba, I should be able to add a circle into that group so that you know specifically that even your a circle, I'm lopping it, which is the way things will be, so that to make it specifically. Otherwise, it now means that, oh, you're saying it's only your own that you want. And so if at this moment where he was saying he doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate or Hausa candidate or Fulani candidate, then you'll be able to say that, oh, okay, he's referring to everybody, and then he will not maybe add something like he needs someone who can give him good leadership or any of those things. That would have made the difference. So, and then he went on further to reinforce and say that thing by saying that, so I believe I stand before you as a pan-Nigerian. If he had even stopped there, master would not be saying that, okay, some of the things he had said before, okay, he didn't mean. No. He went ahead to say, I stand before you as a pan-Nigerian of northern origin. Abba now. How else? How are you even? Then he said, thank you very much. And then there was this nervous clapping. Abba. There are certain things that you can defend, there are certain things, no way. You understand? There's nothing because there were different levels where he had said, where he has said all of these things. For me, what I did, I watched the video and I actually wrote as he was speaking. I was pausing and writing it because I don't want to miss a word. I do understand what context is, and sometimes in saying certain words, maybe there are certain ways you would have said something, it doesn't come out the way you meant it to come out. But at least in 3 places, about 3 places, he emphasized this thing. The first one, when he said what the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the north. That was one. Okay, you might excuse that and say maybe he wanted to say something and then he just used the north. And the second one is where he said this is what the northerner needs. He doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate. That was 2. That was the second part. He didn't add Hausa. He didn't add Fulani. No. So that means he's telling you these other candidates, and we know, of course, some of the three, his two major contenders. One is Yoruba, one is Igbo. So if he had added at this particular moment, if he had added Hausa, like I said earlier, Hausa, Fulani, and all of that, you would have said, okay, maybe that first one was just, no, he didn't. That was second. The third one is where he said, and so I believe I stand before you as a pan-Nigerian. If he had stopped there, you would have said, okay, maybe all of those things was just, because he was addressing a northern gathering, I believe it was, or something like that, or whatever. You could just be trying to make excuse. No. But he went on to say, as a pan-Nigeria of northern origin. I think it's, is it Maya Angelou that said that if somebody show you who they are, believe them. Stop trying to make excuses for that person and say this, that. It took me a long time before I actually got to that stage. Normally, I'll just feel like, oh, maybe the person didn't mean it, or the person, I'll make all sorts of excuses. But right now, as I am, if you show me who you are, I believe you. So Nigerians, believe Atiku. Stop making excuses for him.